Hi all. So we'll start with Indian economy. As you already know, most of the people find it a little bit difficult to study economy. Why do they actually find it a little bit difficult to study economy? The major reason is because of the lack of conceptual clarity. And what we usually see in here is most of the students from engineering background or from the science background feel that it is very difficult and hard to understand these concepts or to study economy as a whole. Now, one thing that I want to tell you is economy is one of the easiest subject that you prepare for UPSC. Why? Because once you study economy, once you understand the concepts in economy, there is hardly any need to revise it multiple times. One or two revisions will actually help you to clear maximum questions that UPSC asks from the economics part. Clear? So what you have to focus on the conceptual clarity. Focus on the concepts that we are going to discuss from here. Don't give any attention to other aspects. Clear? So first, understand the economic concepts. Go through the concepts really well. Try to understand the concepts so that in whatever way UPSC asks question, you will find it very easy to clear all those things. Clear? So remove all these kind of misconceptions that economy is very hard to study, it is very difficult, you will not be able to you will not be able to understand the economic concepts well. So remove all those kinds of misconceptions and prejudices. I just want you to go through the basic economics and we will go together. Okay, I'll give you examples. I'm going to actually the way I'm going to structure the classes. First, we'll be dealing with the basic economics. Clear? And in the basic economics, we'll be dealing with all the basic concepts that is required, such as that of national income or fiscal policy or anything else. And I will take you through the class. I'll give you the concepts. I'll give you the examples. Okay, I'll give you some exercises, some multiple choice questions, so that you will be able to go through all those multiple choice questions. You will be able to understand whether you really understood the concept or not. So don't worry about economy. You will be safe. You will be able to do all the questions that UPSC asks from the basic economics part once you complete the session. So please pay attention to the class and remove all the misconceptions that you have. So when we start with economy, first of all, you can look into the syllabus. Now, when it comes to syllabus, they just mention that economic and social development, right? They do not mention about any other thing. Economic and social development, there they are mentioning about sustainable development, poverty, inclusion, demographics, social sector initiatives, etc. So what you have to study from this particular portion or from the economics part is that you have to focus on some important basic topics. Now, what are the basic topics that you have to study? First is national income. Now, what is national income? It deals with GDP. What is GDP? Right? What are the different concepts related to that of GDP? How do you prepare or how do you calculate national income? How do we calculate GDP? How do we calculate NNP? And all those related items will be studied in this particular chapter. All the very basic details will be covered and you will be finding it very easy to understand this chapter very easily. Clear? Now, next is fiscal policy. Now, here we'll be dealing with the government budget. Okay, we'll be dealing with the deficits such as fiscal deficit, revenue deficit. You often see all these things in the news and you will be finding it difficult to understand what they actually mean by these deficits. You might be going through all the newspaper reports mentioning that India is planning to control its fiscal deficit, and due to the current COVID-19 situation, there are chances that our fiscal deficit targets will not be met because government will have to come with the fiscal stimulus package, as like recently they have introduced Atmanirbhar Abhiyan Yojana, etc. So with these kind of schemes, with these kind of programs, government expenditure will increase and thereby government's debt will also increase, right? So we'll be dealing with all those concepts as well. Then we'll move on to inflation. Now, inflation is a day-to-day thing for most of us, right? We read in the newspaper, we often discuss about inflation, right? When the prices of onion increases, because last year there was a spike in the prices of onion. Then we also discuss about the increase in prices of oil, how it leads to increase in living expenses of people, right? As a result, many of the people start demanding more wages, etc. So we'll be dealing with inflation, that is the price rise or increase in prices for goods and services. Now after that, we'll be discussing about monetary policy. Now what is monetary policy? Who is actually responsible for implementing monetary policy? Right, whether it is RBI, whether it is government, or is it any other entity, right? And what are the implications of various monetary policy programs? Why government, like you might have read in the newspaper about the repo. Now what is the implication of increasing the repo rate? What is the implication of reducing the repo rate? So we'll be dealing from the very basic level, that is like the 10 standard level, to that of a bit of a medium level. So we'll start with the basics, we'll go to the medium. Thereby, whatever question UPSC asks, you will not find it difficult. Clear? Then we'll discuss about banking. What are the types of banks that we can see in India? What are commercial banks? Right? What are regional rural banks? What are cooperative banks? And now recently you might have come across payment banks, right? So Paytm Payment Bank or Airtel Payment Banks, or you might have come across Jio Payment Banks, etc. So what is payment bank? Then you might have also come across some small finance banks. So these are the two important banks that was recently introduced after receiving the recommendation of an important committee. We'll discuss the committee, we'll discuss all these banks. Clear? Then also, when it comes to banking, we'll also be discussing about the NPA. What is the NPA? What are the various issues associated with NPA? Okay, so which kind of loans do we classify as NPAs? And what are the various measures taken by both government as well as RBI in order to overcome the NPA crisis? So next we'll deal with external sector. Now, what is the external sector? Now, external sector means it deals with all the transactions that India takes or carries out with the external world. Clear? So that means it will be trade, or it can be even the investments that India receives from different countries, right? FDI, you might have heard about FDI. So it is coming regularly in the news. So you will be having doubt regarding what is FII, another term that you recently or currently like frequently see in news. Or you might also have doubt regarding what is the difference between FDI and FII, right? So all these things will be dealt in the class. We will be studying about different type of deficit when it comes to that of the international transactions as well. For example, current account deficit. You might be familiar with the term if you are a person who read newspaper, right? So it frequently comes into news that India's current account deficit is increasing, or India's current account deficit have reduced, or even when it comes to that of the exchange rate, right? You might have seen in the news that India-US exchange rate have actually increased recently. Right? Increase means earlier when it was around 76, now it has went up to like 79, or it may touch 80, etc. So how does the exchange rate change? How does it increase? How does it decrease? So you might have all related confusions, right? So we will be dealing each and every point in all these basic chapters, and I will also be clearing your doubts regarding these concepts. One thing that I want you to do is, by the end of each session, you have to raise your doubts. I will be clearing those doubts. I will be having session for doubt clearance. Okay, and I need you to have a clear cut or thorough understanding of all the important concepts, so that in whatever way UPSC asks question, you will not find it difficult to answer those. I want you to get 100% questions correct when UPSC asks from the basic economics part. And one thing that you have to understand is, basic economics is mainly asked by UPSC when it comes to that of the prelims. When it comes to mains, the questions that they ask is different. We will be dealing it in the economic development part. So first when we start, we will be starting with the basic economics, and once you are clear with all these concepts, then we will move on to the economic development part. Clear? So I hope you are able to understand the structure, and I will be covering the chapters in the same order that I have given here. First I will go to national income, then fiscal policy, inflation, monetary policy, banking, taxation, external sector, and finally I will go to the financial market. Now what is financial market? Financial market means, see, various institutions, whether it is the government institutions, whether it is the private agencies, they all require money to carry out their activities, right? For government, in order to do various kinds of subsidy program or other social sector initiatives such as building of that of roads, right? They have to build infrastructure. So all those related items require what? Money. Now in order to get money, they get the taxes, right? But apart from taxes, they will have to raise extra money from outside, and they will be raising it by using the financial markets, which consist of capital market and money market. Clear? So we'll be dealing with the details in all these chapters. Now I just want you to give you an overview on how our classes will be going. Okay, so these are the order in which our classes go, and the financial market is a market for raising money by the private institutions as well as the government. Clear? Now before going into the chapters and before going to the details of economics, I just want you to give you an idea on how we should actually approach this paper. Okay, there are three important types of questions that UPSC asks for prelims when it comes to that of economics. The first type of question is related to that of your basic conceptual understanding. Now that basic conceptual understanding will be clear as soon as we cover all these chapters. Clear? We'll have our doubt clearance sessions, and at the end of all these doubt clearance sessions as well as our normal sessions, you will be thorough with all the important concepts. Clear? Now second thing that you have to understand is UPSC asks current affairs questions from economics. Now what are the various current affairs questions that they ask? Now the current affairs questions they usually ask is related to that of the schemes, okay, the recently introduced scheme by the government. There can be various types of schemes such as that of related to banking or whether related to that of taxation. For example, GST. GST was recently introduced back in 2017, right? So after that, in 2017 prelims as well as in 2018 prelims, consecutively UPSC have asked questions from GST. So all those current affairs will be asked by UPSC. Another type of current affairs that UPSC regularly asks is related to that of banking. For example, when it comes to that of the payment system, you know about the RuPay card, right? They have asked about RuPay card. They have asked about BEAM, that is, you know that UPI, Unified Payment Interface. They have asked about UPI. They have asked about the digital like wallets. So all these type of all current related happening when it comes to banking sector, whether it is the payment related, the digital related payments or any other thing, whether it is to, you know, overcome the NPA issue, non-performing asset issue, all these things are covered in the UPSC prelims paper by the UPSC. So be thorough with the current affairs as well. Now next type of question that they ask is the trend based question. Now the trend based questions mean those questions where they ask you, like for example, India's fiscal deficit have consistently reduced over the past 5 years. They will give statements. So first statement will be India's fiscal deficit have consistently reduced in the last 5 years. Now the second statement that they are going to give is India's current account deficit has increased consistently in the last 5 years. So these kind of trend based questions are also asked by UPSC. So don't worry, we will be covering some of the important trends related to that of the GDP, because last year they asked a question in 2019 that there were two statements. The first statement was related to purchasing power parity, that we will be discussing in the national income chapter itself. The second topic that they have asked is related to that of India's position when it comes to the size of the economy. Now when we deal with each and every topic, we will also be discussing the important statistics related to those topics, such as that of India's fiscal deficit in last 5 years, India's current account deficit in last 5 years, so that these kind of trend based questions will also become easy for you. One thing that I want to make it clear is, be attentive in the class, follow the class regularly, raise your doubts and make it, concrete. That is both conceptual clarity, the statistics that we are going to discuss, as well as some of the important current affairs topics that we are going to discuss as and when it arrives. Okay, so our course will be, I'll be dealing with, you will get the basic economics videos first. And as and when, like in 1 or 2 months, as and when the current affairs starts coming out or various issues start popping out, we will also have separate session on current affairs. Clear? So that will be the structure of our class. We will be dealing with 3 methods: basic economics, the trends and current affairs. I want you to be concrete in all these 3 aspects so that whatever question UPSC asks in prelims will not become a problem for you. So let's start with our topic. Now the first thing that I want to ask is, what is economics? Now many of you might have read about or might have studied economics in your secondary classes, but you might not be very sure or you might not have studied that very properly. As a result, you might have some doubts, like we have to actually start from the very basics. So that is why I am starting from what is economics. Now what is economics? So the basic idea of economics is, now I have given you two important pictures here, right? So here our desires are unlimited. That means the needs or our wants is actually unlimited, right? So first we want a normal smartphone, then we want a better performing smartphone, right? You start from I'm not giving any brand name, but still you are starting from a very basic smartphone, then you want a smartphone with various good camera, right? Good performance, good speed. Then ultimately you need the best smartphone in the market. So as and when you get different types of smartphones, your desire for the next level smartphone increases. Now this is the reason why the technology companies such as those who are producing mobile phones, they are actually coming with a new model every year with enhanced performance, with enhanced camera quality, with enhanced every experience, so that it will create a desire inside you to purchase that, because what you have is actually lower than, right, or it is not as equal to that of the new model. So as a result, automatically you will have this tendency to go for the new one. This is why there are people who change their smartphone every year, right? Because this desire for having the best smartphone with them is there. Now the very next year when the new smartphone comes into the market, they are again going to purchase that same new smartphone. So this is how our needs or our wants work, right? So when we get a let's take in the case of food. When we do not have enough food, the only desire that we are going to have is to have or to get some kind of food so that our hunger can be subsidized, right? We just need to meet our hunger, okay, or fulfill our hunger. Now once we start getting food every time, then we start demanding or we start desiring for better food. Those non-vegetarians, they require like chicken or something like that. Now so those vegetarians, they require the paneer or all those higher level food. So as and when we start getting things that we require, our needs start increasing, and it will not subside until we get the best. And once we get the best, we will also search for the next best thing. Now that is why companies are spending a lot on R&D, because even when they bring or even they spend a lot of money and bring in new technology, people are waiting for that because they have got the maximum. They are now looking for the new maximum. Clear? So our desire or our need is unlimited. At the same time, what we have to understand is our resources are limited, because the land we have, just take an example of land. Okay, the land we have got, it is actually limited. Can we grow land? No. Whatever land we have, it is fixed. We cannot actually increase the size of land. Now, by using the land, we have various demands or various usefulness, right? For example, in order to carry out agriculture, we require land. In order to build industries, we require land. In order to build infrastructure, we require land, right? We have to build our residential units. For that again, we require land. So a particular resource such as land, which is limited in nature, have multiple uses, such as that of agriculture, our residential unit, industrial unit, infrastructure, etc. Now, how do we allocate our limited land for this unlimited needs? Because you require residence, all these things that we have mentioned here are required by us. These are all our needs. We need industries for producing clothes, right? For producing mobile phones, for producing various other day-to-day goods and services that we use. We require residential units for us to live. We require agriculture for consuming food. Right? For all these needs, we have a single limited resource. So the subject, that is economics, came into being because of this mismatch between the desire of people and the limited resources. There is this kind of a conflict between our demand and the resources that we have. And that is the origin of the subject known as economics. So economics basically, in its most basic definition, it is the study of how society uses its limited resources. So suppose we have 10 hectares of land. Okay. Now we need food, we need clothes, we need houses, right? We need roads, etc. Now, how do we allocate the land for different uses or for different purposes? How much land do we allocate for agriculture? How much land do we allocate for residential units? How much land do we allocate for starting industries? Because we require all these things and we have to use land there, right? So we have to fix for what purpose or for each and every purpose how much land we are going to allocate. And the decision of allocation will be based on priority. Okay. For a country which is having limited growth and development, most of the focus will be on what? It will be on providing the basic amenities, right? When it comes to India, our most important priority is to increase the income of our farmers, to increase food production so that we have food security. The next important focus of us is on the infrastructural development. We have to have best class infrastructure so that we will be able to reduce the cost of transportation. We will be able to move people easily between cities or between the rural and urban areas. So the most of our allocation of land will go for the agricultural purpose. We will also allocate our land for developing infrastructure, and as a country like India requires more and more number of jobs, we will also allocate our land for starting industries, because industries play a major role in developing or creating productive job for our people. You might have read in the newspaper in the recent past that unemployment rate in India has increased over the time, right? So in order to reduce this unemployment, what we have to do? We have to create more jobs. In order to create more jobs, we have to bring in more industries in the country. So we have to allocate land for the purpose also. So these kind of decisions, we call it as economic decisions. So the economy as a subject is related to that of use of the limited resources. We have to put these resources into the most efficient use. Now the subject deals with that. Now that is why all these decisions are being discussed as economic decisions. Clear? I hope what economy is clear to economics is clear to you. Clear? Now next is economics is also a social science that deals with production, distribution and consumption of goods and services. Now how does the economy work? Let's discuss a bit on the economy, right, or economics, right? So we have to produce things, right? So just take an example whereby you have started production. Okay, so we'll start with wheat. A farmer is producing wheat, right? So here agricultural activity is carried out, right? And by carrying out this agricultural activity, most of the people are getting jobs, right? All those farmers who are indulged in the activity get job. As and when they actually produce the wheat, they are able to sell it in the market and they are going to get income out of selling wheat. So here we are dealing with the production activity, and the production is actually giving jobs to the people. Now when they get job, they will also get income, right? So that is clear, I guess. So agricultural production of wheat is actually leading to what? Creation of jobs. Now creation of jobs, as well as and when they sell the wheat, they are also getting income from the market. Now this wheat is actually distributed to different parts of the country, right? Now the wheat will be used by some industries as well. For example, let's take the case of a food processing industry, okay, or example of a biscuit factory. Now in a biscuit factory, they will be using this wheat that they get in order to produce biscuits, if suppose they are producing wheat related biscuits. Okay, so as the healthy diet and all those related things are being discussed now, we can also discuss on wheat related biscuits. So because it is comparatively healthy than flour based or refined flour based biscuits. So biscuit factory. Now in the biscuit factory again, what is happening? Now from wheat that was there with the farmer to that of the biscuit factory, we need to have distribution, right? We have to have distribution channels. The food have to be distributed. We have to actually use the logistic services. So economics also deal with the production, then distributing that particular product to different other factories or to the consumers. Consumers means that wheat reaches your house, you cook that wheat into chapati or any other thing and you consume them, right? Or into rotis and all those things. So distribution is also important, and it reaches the biscuit factory. Now what happens in the biscuit factory? They are further producing biscuits, right? Now when they are producing biscuits, what happen? Again, they employ large number of people because they have to carry out all the different tasks related to that of producing of biscuits. So employees will take hold of that particular jobs that are available due to operation of the biscuit factories, and then they produce biscuits, and these biscuits, that is the product, will again go to different parts of the country through the distribution channel. Clear? So from the production, suppose for example the production unit is in Uttar Pradesh. From Uttar Pradesh, this biscuit will get transported to all nearby states, and if they do not have any other factory or industry in the southern region, that will also again come to the southern region as well. So from Uttar Pradesh, this particular biscuit is going to different parts of India through the available distribution channels. Now by transporting it and by distributing it to different stores, who actually retail stores who actually sell it to the ultimate consumer. Now when it reaches the retail store, what happens? From there the consumer gets in and consumer starts purchasing this particular biscuit. So the third step is consumption. So we started with production of wheat, then distribution of wheat to the various factories or as well as various markets whereby the ultimate consumer directly purchases it. And we have also discussed about this wheat being used for producing biscuits, and after the biscuit is produced, it is going again to the market, it is reaching the retail store, right? And from the retail store, the consumers go there and they purchase and they consume the biscuit. Now in order to consume biscuit, in order for the consumption or consuming biscuit, what is required for the consumer? Will they be able to purchase biscuit for free? No. They will have to pay money for purchasing the biscuit, right? Now how do they get money? Now the money that they have to purchase biscuit comes from the productive activity that they carry out. For example, the farmer who have produced the wheat gets income when they sell the wheat. They use the same income to purchase the biscuit that is produced in the factory using their wheat. Clear? So the farmer, with the income that they got out of selling the wheat, is using that income, is purchasing the biscuit from the market. Now this takes that particular entire cycle into a single round. So from the farmer, what happened? I'll just draw it here. From the farmer, the wheat is going to the factory. In both these places, production is taking place. Then from factory, it reaches the retail store. Now in this process, distribution occur, right? In both the places, we have to distribute the products. So distribution is happening. And finally, from the retail store, it is purchased by the farmer. Now this is the consumption. And in the consumption process, farmer uses the money that they get out of selling the wheat. So this is how the economy works. From production to distribution to consumption. It is a kind of a cycle, a particular kind of a circular or motion. Clear? So in that circular motion, the producer, the distributor as well as the consumer interact with each other. Is it clear? I hope it's clear. Going forward, we'll discuss more about this. I just want you to give a basic idea on what is economy, how economy works, what is the mechanism that takes place inside the economy between the distributor, consumer and the producer, how they interact with each other. Clear? So next we'll be discussing about the difference between economics and economy. Okay, so what is the difference between economics and economy? We have discussed economics as the science that deals with utilization of resources. And utilization of, you have to focus on the word limited resources, right? So we have dealt with that limited resources area, how the limited resources is used by the people, how they have to prioritize the use of resources, how it should be put to use for different purposes that serves the human needs and desires, right? So all those things are discussed. Now what is the difference between the economy and economics? Now when it comes to economics, it is the theoretical framework. It gives you the various theories like demand and supply theory. You might have heard about demand supply theory, right? So I just discussed that. What is demand supply theory? When demand of a product increases, price of the product also increases. So this is a kind of a direct relation. When demand increases, the price of the product also increases. When the demand reduces, the price will also come down. Let's take an example of a product. Suppose a particular factory have produced 1000 units of a product. Clear? Now the demand for product is 1200. More number of people are demanding. So the production or that particular supply of the product is lower than that of the demand for the product. In this case, what happened? When the supply, 1000 units, when they are producing 1000 units, that means the supply, right? They are supplying 1000 units. But the demand is 1200 units. So when demand is higher than the supply, automatically what happened? There will be increase in prices for the product. Because people are ready to pay more in order to get those limited product. Clear? So that is one thing. Now on the other hand, if suppose they are actually supplying 1500 units of a product and the demand is only 1000 unit, what will happen? The prices of the product will start coming down. Why does the prices of products start coming down? Because in order to sell these units, so here it is supply and here it is demand. Okay, so in order to sell these products, the company will start reducing the prices so that people will be motivated to buy them. You know that whenever the prices of a product becomes cheaper, people tend to purchase them more, right? So this is, we call it as a competition or competitiveness, whereby if suppose there are large number of sellers of a product, right? In order to sell more, a particular producer among this large group of producers will reduce their prices so that consumer will find it convenient to purchase their product because they will have to spend only less. Now once they start reducing the price, all other competitors will also start reducing the price of the product. You might have seen this particular phenomena in the market, right? Now let's take an example that we have recently witnessed related to that. The Jio revolution. What happened when Jio came in? Right? They started selling the internet package for very low prices, which ultimately led to large number of people opting for the Jio. Then what happened? The other service providers such as Airtel, Vodafone, Idea, etc. started reducing their prices to match it to the Jio level. Clear? So what happened? Because of higher level competition, because of larger level of competition, a competitor who arrived in the market reduced the prices so that the consumers will be motivated, right? When consumers started getting attracted to that lower price, other producers or the players in the market again started reducing the prices. So this is the relation with the price. Whenever prices get reduced, there are higher chances for the people to opt for the product. Clear? And ultimately what happened? All other producers will also start reducing their prices. This is why we say that there should be higher level of competition in the market. When competition increases, what happened? The prices will start reducing and it is beneficial for the consumer. This is why we promote competition. Is it clear? Now we'll get back to demand and supply. So I just wanted to give you an idea on the relation between the price and the consumer purchase. Clear? So when it comes to demand and supply, whenever demand is higher than the supply, prices will start increasing. Whenever the demand is lower than the supply, prices tend to reduce. Is it clear? Now why prices tend to reduce? Because when the prices are less, people will start purchasing the product. So this is an example of a theoretical framework. Clear? This is a theory. This can be applied in various regions. But what you have to understand is, application of this particular theoretical framework will be different for the different countries, right? Because the condition that we have in India is different from the condition that we have in US or China or Japan, etc. So whatever theoretical framework that we have to use in India should be based on the conditions that we have currently in India. So if Indian economy is growing, the measures that we have to take should be different, right? Now just I will give you an example. Now the major or the large number of people in our country is relying on agriculture, right? So our economy, when it comes to the employment that it provides, is dependent on agriculture, because close to 50% of our population are in the agriculture sector. Now take the case of US. When it comes to US, it's just around 2% of their population who are dependent on agriculture. So whatever economic actions or policies that they actually implement or pass in US will be very different from that of what is passed or what is taken in India. Clear? So this is just an example of how economy varies, how this economic situation of different countries vary. And you have to also understand that no single economy have similar conditions. All different economies are varying from each other. As they are varying from each other, what happened? The type of the economic frameworks that we have to use in those economies also start varying. Now that is the difference between economy and economics. I'll make it more clear. Economics is the theoretical framework and economy is the application of this theoretical framework. So when economic theoretical framework is applied in a particular jurisdiction, we call it as an economy. And this is the reason why usually we have a prefix attached to economy. We never say that economy, we say Indian economy, we say US economy or European economy or Chinese economy, right? So why we use that particular prefix? It is used in order to denote that we are referring to the application of economic framework in this particular jurisdiction. So application of theoretical framework of economics in Indian state, we call it as Indian economy. Is it clear? So that is the difference between the economy and economics. Now next we'll have to discuss about the factors of production. Now what are factors of production? What actually is, or why do we mention about factors of production? Now suppose you are producing something. Okay. Suppose you are producing biscuits. As we have started with that same example, it will be easy for you to connect to that same example. Clear? So we are producing biscuits. Now when we are producing biscuits, what are the various factors that we require? We require land in order to build our factory, right? We have to have a biscuit factory, so we have to have a land, we have to have this particular resource in order to build our industry. Second thing is, we need people to work in our biscuit factory, right? We need people to operate various machineries, we need people to carry out various other kinds of work related to production of biscuits. So this is another important factor of production. We need land, we need labor. Then we need capital. Why do we require capital? We need to purchase a lot of raw materials, right? We need to purchase machinery, we need to purchase wheat, because in the earlier example, in the biscuit factory that we are running, we have already purchased wheat from the farmer. How do we purchase the wheat? We need capital for that. We need to pay them money, right? So the capital means it is to purchase various infrastructure that is required, such as that of machinery. We have to build our factory. We just don't need land, we also need to build our factory. We need to purchase bricks, we need to purchase cement, right? We need to purchase a lot of construction materials. For that we require capital. Now finally we need an organization. Why do we need an organization? Because we have to manage various tasks. Because production of biscuit means we have to purchase raw material, right? We have to process those raw material. Then we have to convert it into biscuits. Then we'll have to pack all those biscuits, right? Then we'll have to distribute it to different parts. We have to look into the finance aspect. We'll have to look into the marketing aspects. So all those important functions related to production distribution have to be carried out by this particular business. Now, in order to organize all those things, in order to organize all different types of activities involved in the production, we require organization. And that is why in all organizations, we have different types of heads, right? We have financial heads, we have marketing heads, right? We have administrative heads, you have human resource heads. All these people carry out different specific or specialized functions. Now, in order to coordinate all of them, we have the CEO, we have the management, etc. So this is why we require organization. Clear? So different factors of production are land, labor, capital and organization. Now, what do they get in return? Because when we are using a particular factor of production, we'll have to pay for all the factors, right? Right. If, for example, if I'm working, I need to get something back. Only then I'll be working. So it is all based on the financial incentives that we get. So how do we pay to different factors of production? Now take the case of land. How do we pay or how do we provide returns to the land? It is in the form of rent, right? So if suppose you actually take a particular land from a person, you will have to pay rent in order to use that particular land. Clear? Now you might have a doubt whether if that particular business purchase land, why do they have to pay rent? But in the normal, in the professional business like related aspects, they even consider rent in order to calculate their total cost of production. How do they calculate cost of production? They will have to calculate the capital that they have spent on particular product. They will have to calculate the wages that they have to spend, like because they are using labor. They have to calculate the expenses that they incur on the land. Because if they purchase the land and if they do not calculate the value of land in the production expenses, the amount that they have spent will keep or will be idle. That will not reflect in the cost of the produce. So what they do is, even if they own the land, they actually add a portion of that particular land's total value as rent, so that the component of land will also get reflected in the product expenses. So I hope you are clear. So for land, we give the returns, that is rent. Now when it comes to labor, what is the return that we are going to give? We have to pay them wages or salary, because no one works for free. We have to pay them wages, we have to pay them salary. Now how about capital? Because capital is actually raised by the partners or the owners or promoters of the business. For bringing in capital, they will have to be paid interest over the capital. So whatever capital that they bring, they will charge an interest over the capital. It is like providing loan to our company. So if suppose I have brought in 10 lakh rupees to my company, and if I have an agreement with all my other partners or the management that I will have to receive 10% interest on my capital, then that means every year I will get 1 lakh rupee as interest. So the capital brought by the owners of the business, they are investing that capital into the business, and that particular amount is used by the business to purchase various raw materials, right? To purchase, to pay the salary or to pay for the construction, etc. For that purpose, they will have to pay interest for the particular people who bring in capital. Now finally, we have organization. Now why do we have organization? I have already mentioned, right? In order to streamline all the activities, we require an organization. Now once they streamline the activities, what is the return that the organization get? They get profit. Now profit is the result of organizing all these activities, right? Organizing procurement of products, production of a product, distribution, as well as marketing. So in return, organization will get the profit, and the profit that the organization get is taken by the owners of that particular business. Is it clear? So these are 4 important factors of production, and these are important return on factors of production. I hope this is clear for you. Okay, so whatever we have discussed till now, first we have introduced, I have introduced to the economics. So what is economics? We have discussed that. Then we have discussed about the production, distribution and consumption, how that particular cycle goes on. Then I have discussed about the difference between economics and economy. Then we have discussed the important factors of production and the returns or the money that each and every factor of production gets back due to their participation in the production process. I hope it is clear. So land gets rent, labor gets wages, capital gets interest, and organization gets profit. Clear? Now next, we'll have to also discuss about the flow of income. So I hope you still remember what I've mentioned about the production, distribution and consumption cycle. So as I've already mentioned, this is actually a cycle. There is a cyclical flow of income between production, distribution and the consumption purpose. Now the distribution part we are actually not dealing here. You will be able to understand that, because production, then they have to distribute it, only then the consumer will be able to consume that product. Clear? So we will not be discussing much about the distribution angle here. We will be focusing more on the consumption and production and how that entire cycle works in. So this is known as the flow of income. How does income flow between the different sections? Now, consumption is usually carried out by the households, right? Clear? So you can ask this question where whether the companies also consume, right? But for the sake of understanding purpose, for the sake of the overall equation purpose, we usually denote household with that of consumption, because maximum consumption is carried out by the household. Okay. Now, whatever consumption is carried out by the industries or businesses, it is for using it for further production. So we cannot actually classify them as exact consumption. Clear? For example, I have told you an example whereby the wheat that the farmer produces, it can either go to the household or it can go to the biscuit factory. When it goes to the household, they are using it to convert it to roti and they are going to consume it. Now, if they are going to the biscuit factory, they are using it to produce biscuits, right? So they are producing a new item and they are going to sell it. So it cannot be considered as consumption as such. So household is related to that of consumption. Clear? So household is related to that of, or we consider consumption with that of household, and we consider production as the activity of the firms, because usually firms carry out the activity of production. Clear? So production and consumption need to be understood. Now, how does this particular flow happen? I have already mentioned about the factors of production, right? So firms use factors of production in order to produce various products. Clear? So firms are using factors of production to produce various products, and in the process of production, they will have to pay a particular amount as return to the factors of production. Clear? So first we will start with the firms paying to household. How does firms pay to the household? Because take the case of a labor. Labor is part of a household, because if I am working in a particular company, then whatever amount that I receive as my wages is actually going to my household. Now, if I am owner of a business, whatever profit that I get, I am actually taking it to my household. Right? If I am owning a land and I have rented it to a particular business, whatever rent that I receive is actually again going to my household. So all those factors of production, all those return on factors of production is actually going to the household. Clear? So from the firm's side, in the process of production, they use various factors of production, and in return, they give return on factors of production, and all these returns is actually going to that of the household. So that becomes income for the household. Clear? So factors, the firms pay to the household as they are using different factors of production, and the return on factors of production becomes the income for the household. Now, from the household, they make payment to that of the firms. In what way? Just try to think. Because whatever goods and services that are produced by the firm is ultimately consumed by the household, right? So when household purchase goods and services from the firm, they will have to make payment to the firm. Clear? So this is how a larger circular flow of income takes place. From the firms, income reaches the household, and out of the income that the household have, they purchase goods and services produced by the firms. Is it clear? Now just try to connect it to the example that we have discussed initially. A farmer producing the wheat is actually selling in the market, and farmer is earning an income. Now, by using the same income, farmer is going to purchase the wheat biscuit produced by the factory to which their wheat has ultimately gone. Now, this is the circular flow of income. I hope this is clear. This is a very basic concept. This is a very basic level understanding that you have to have when it comes to that of the national income chapter or the entire economy as a whole. If you are able to understand this, most of the concepts will become a bit more easier and clear for you. I hope it is clear. If you have any doubts, don't forget to raise those doubts. We'll have a doubt clearance session. Okay. So I hope I'll just give you one more detail, that is, firms produce products. In the process of production, they use factors of production, and as they are using factors of production, they will have to provide return on factors of production. This return on factors of production go to the household, and in the household it is actually an income for them. Now by using this income, household start purchasing goods and services produced by the firms. Now this completes the entire cycle or the circular flow of income. Now we'll include the government in this particular equation. Now what happens when we include government into the equation? How does this income flow actually changes? How does the interaction between the firm, the household and government takes place between each other? So let's discuss that. Now what will go from the household to the government? What kind of payment does household make to the government? It will be in the form of taxes. Now take the case of income that the household have received here, right? Now out of the income that the household have received, they will have to pay taxes. They will have to pay income taxes, right? Because if I'm earning like 1 lakh per month, out of that a particular percentage will have to be paid according to different income tax slab. I will have to pay taxes to government. So the interaction between household and government, it is actually in what way? Household pay taxes to the government. Clear? And how about government and the firm? What goes from government to that of firm? What type of income goes? It is in the form of the purchases. Because government is not producing each and every item, right? Government will have to purchase car, government will have to purchase bulb, they will have to purchase stationery, they will have to purchase a lot of different other items that they are not producing. Government is not in the realm of producing each and every item. Now from where do they purchase? They purchase from the firm. Now when they are purchasing these products from the firm, what do they pay? They pay the cash or the prices for that particular product. So from the side of government to firm, it is usually the purchase of goods and services and related payments that they make. Now when it comes to that of firms to that of government, how does this particular transaction take? What goes from the firm to the government? There is no doubt it is again the taxes. The maximum amount that government gets from both household as well as firm, it is in the form of taxes. Right? We do not give anything else to government. We only pay taxes. Whether it is firms or whether it is that of the household, we give taxes to government. That is the primary transaction. Then from government to that of households, how does income flow? There again, you just have to think it. We receive a lot of subsidies, right? We get scholarship. We get subsidies, we get payments from the government in the form of different types of stipends, etc. Right? So all these payments that the household receive from the government in the form of transfer payments such as pension, such as that of benefits related to maternity benefits, all these belong or is part of the transfer payments carried out by the government. And this is how the income flow from government to that of the household. Clear? So this is the circular flow of income primarily between the firm and household, and also we have dealt with that of the government, household and the firm. I hope it's clear. Right. So next we'll move on to the next portion, that is different types of economy. Right. We have discussed that all economy vary from each other. I have mentioned that each and every economy is different. When it comes to Indian economy and our neighborhood, take the case of neighborhood. Is Indian economy and Sri Lankan economy the same? No. Is Indian economy and the Nepal economy the same? No. Indian economy and the Pakistan economy very different. Every economies that we see in a similar region, right, in the South Asian subcontinent, here itself we can see a lot of varieties, right? Most of the economies in case of Indian economy, we are focusing on Make in India, right? We are trying to reduce the dependence on agriculture when it comes to that of employment of our people. We want to take maximum people out of agriculture and we want to employ them in the industrial sector. And when it comes to Indian economy, what happened is the most of the contribution to our national income is being carried out by the services sector, right? So that makes it a difference. So Indian economy will not be in any way exactly similar to any other economies that we can see around the world. Clear? But among the economies itself, you can see some type of general changes or general classification. Now that general type of classification is based on three important questions. What are those three important questions that we have to ask? The first among these three important questions is what to produce. Clear? What to produce? If we ask these three questions and when we get the answer for these three questions, we can easily understand which type of economy we are talking about. So what to produce? That means what are you producing? What kind of products are you producing? Are you producing the basic products or are you producing luxury products? Now basic products means that will be used by the common man or common people, right? Now when it comes to the luxurious products, that will be used by only the upper class people. That means the rich section of the population. So for what kind of products are you producing? That is an important question. Second is how to produce. Now how are you producing a particular product? Whether you are using technology so that you don't have to use labor, whether you are using labor intensive techniques so that you provide job to large number of people, right? Or is there any balance, right? Like you are providing jobs to large number of people, at the same time you are also using technology so that there can be cost effectiveness. So these are the different methods, right? So how to produce or how you are producing a product, that is also an important question. And the third question is for whom to produce. Who is your target consumer? Is it the lower class or the weaker sections of the population, or is it the upper class or the richer sections of the population? So who are you targeting? Clear? So these are the three important questions that we have to ask in order to identify which type of economy we are referring to. Now when it comes to what to produce, and on the basis of these three questions, we have divided the economy into capitalist economy, socialist economy and mixed economy. What are capitalist economy or what is a capitalist economy? These are economy which produces, now when it comes to what to produce, they produce those products that are luxurious in nature, which will provide them more profit. Their major motive will be to create profit. So they will be producing only those products that provide them profit. They will not be producing products in order to serve the people, because that is not their concern, that is not their intention. Now the second type of questions when it comes to capitalist economy is related to how to produce. Now they will be producing the products in a way that the cost of production becomes minimum. They will have to spend only very less when it comes to the production. So these kind of products will be technological intense, right? So they will be using the most modern machinery. They will not be caring about providing job to large number of people. Again, what you have to understand is their intention is to create profit. Now in order to create profit, they do not have to provide jobs to large number of people if they feel that it is going to cost them more. Now in those factories, if they feel that employing large number of people are actually useful, they will be employing them. instead of adopting technology. Clear? So they will be choosing those production technique that will reduce the cost of production. And finally, we have mixed economy. What is mixed economy? Finally, we have the third question, that is for whom to produce. Now, for whom to produce means which is the target population. Now, as it is obvious, in the capitalist economy, the target population will be the richer section of the population. Now, how does the richer section of population is targeted by them, or why are they targeting them? It is because the richer section will only be able to afford the products. Only the richer sections will be able to give them profit that they require. As a result, they will be targeting them in order to earn more profit. So, in order to conclude, when it comes to capitalist economy, they will be producing those products which earn maximum profit. They will be producing those luxurious goods, right? Their intention is not to serve people but to make profit. The technique that they used for production will be the technological intensive production method, which reduces the overall cost of production and which ultimately increases their profit. And the target population for which they produce is those who can afford their products, or those who can provide them the profit that they require. Now, when it comes to that of the socialist economy, what is the difference here? Now, when it comes to the socialist economy, this is a type of economy where the production decision is taken on the basis of serving large number of people. They will be producing those products that serve the interest of the common people or the common population of the country, right? The major aim or intention of production is to serve the people rather than making profit. Clear? So, socialist economy means there is the serving of people rather than making profit. Second, how to produce? They will be using those techniques that will provide maximum employment opportunities to large number of people. Thereby, they will be able to have a better standard of living, or they will have the basic amenities with them. Clear? So, they will not be using technological intensive production processes. They will not be going for job cuts. And the final question, for whom to produce? They will be producing products for the weaker sections of the society, for those people who are vulnerable in nature, the lower class, right? Those in poverty. These are the type of people who they focus upon. Now, as we have done with capitalist economy and socialist economy, before going to the mixed economy, I want you to actually analyze, or I want you to understand how it actually led to, or how mixed economy came to origin. So, we have to go back to 1777. And in 1777, father of economics, Adam Smith, wrote a book or a particular work known as Wealth of Nations. In Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith actually spoke about an invisible hand. Okay, invisible hand, or he mentioned about laissez-faire. Now, laissez-faire means, or the invisible hand means, according to Adam Smith, market should work on its own. No one should actually intervene in the market, be it the government or any other agency. They should not intervene in the market. Market should work on its own. And how does the market work on its own? It's based on the demand and supply. So, according to Adam Smith, if a particular product is of a good quality or good value, automatically the demand for the product will increase, and as a result, the prices of the product will also increase. Now, if a particular product is of bad quality or is of not of a higher level quality, what happens? the demand will not match with the supply, and as a result, the prices of the product will start coming down. I've already discussed about the demand and supply mismatch, right? So when demand is higher than supply, prices increases. When supply is higher than demand, price reduces. So based on this mechanism, according to Adam Smith, the economy should work on its own and there should not be any intervention from any other external sources, be it government or any other agency. Now this system started evolving and this system continued till the advent of or till Marx came with a new political or economical idea, that is socialism. So I'll just take you to socialism, how socialism actually emerged or the origin of socialism. It was with the idea of Karl Marx, and Karl Marx was against the capitalism. According to Karl Marx, socialism and the capitalism is different because capitalism will allow a person to die, even though it provides a better standard of living as well. But however, socialism, even though it does not provide a very high standard of living, will not allow a person to die. So that is the difference, because in socialism, the basic amenities are ensured for all in the country. However, in the capitalism, it is survival of the fittest. Those with better skills, those who are able to produce more money, those who are able to create more profit, they will survive, and those less capable will automatically perish. So that is the difference between the two systems. Now, ultimately what happened? In 1929, another major economic event happened around the world. And what was it? It is the Great Depression of 1929. Great Depression of 1929 led many experts or the economical thinkers at that time to actually go for a paradigm shift, because whatever they have conceived or whatever they have understood till then started changing. The theory of invisible hand or the laissez-faire started falling. Why? Because what happened during 1929 Great Depression was that the demand started reducing in the economy. Okay. There were multiple reasons for the reduction in demand. It may be because of famines, or the First World War can also be a possible impact over that. So because of various factors, there was shortage in demand in the economy. People did not have enough money to purchase products, because when does demand occur? When will be there a demand in the economy? Only when the people have enough money with them to purchase the products. Now take the case of the COVID-19 situation. There is a kind of discussion going on that COVID-19 situation will actually lead to a similar situation that of 1929 Great Depression, because due to the lockdown, due to the stalling of productive activities, there can be shortage with the level of income that people have, right? When they do not have income, they do not have the power to purchase products. We call it as the purchasing power. When they do not have purchasing power, they will not be able to purchase products and there will be lower demand for all the products. So in 1929, a similar situation took place and the demand started falling down. Now what happened when the demand started falling down? It will actually lead to a spiral. Now what is that kind of spiral that actually take place with lower demand? Now for that, we have to consider this particular diagram. Now, as I've already mentioned, what happened when you produce, when you are able to produce, suppose you are producing 1000 units. Okay, for this production purpose, you are employing 100 employees. Now, due to better demand for your product, you start producing 1500 units, because as I've already mentioned, when you were producing 1000 units, demand was around 1200, right? As a result, you had to actually increase the prices of the product. Now later on you are going to catch up with the production because of the information that more and more people require your product. So you have increased your production, right? As and when you increase your production, you will have to employ more number of people. From 100, you will have to now employ 125 people in your company. Now when you are employing more people in your economy, what happened? That means extra 25 people have started getting more income, or extra 25 households have actually increased their income, right? When the household level income increases, they will start spending more, right? They will try to improve their standard of living. In that process, they purchase various products. When they purchase those products, what will happen? Demand for those kind of products and other industries will also start picking up. For example, if they start purchasing more fruits, if they start purchasing more processed food, what happened? Demand in fruit industry or that particular agriculture or horticulture industry, as well as the demand in case of food processing industries will also start picking up. Now these industries will also start increasing their production because of higher demand. When they start increasing their production, what happened? They will also have to employ more number of people. When they employ more number of people, what will happen? When they are employing more number of people, that will also lead to a situation whereby these people will also increase their purchasing power, their income, right? Now they also start demanding more. Now this is how an economy grows. This is like an upward spiral. From increase in demand in one sector, that will lead to employing of more number of people in that sector. That will further lead to increase in demand in other sectors, which will also lead them to employ large number of people, right? And they will also have to, again, because of large number of employment opportunities, because of better purchasing power, that will again lead to higher level of demand in all other industries. Now this is the upward spiral. Now what happens when the demand starts falling in one industry or sector? It will also have the same impact that growth in demand had over other industries. So when there is a reduction, when the economy's demand starts reducing in one sector, that will lead to reduction in demand in other sectors as well. So we'll discuss that here. So suppose, as earlier we have discussed, the demand was increasing. Now we'll have to deal with reduction in demand. How does demand reduce? Now, for example, earlier an industry usually produces 1500 units of a product. Due to reduction in demand, they are now only producing 1000 units of the product. When they are only producing 1000 units of a product, what will happen? They will have to lay off some of their employees. So the laying off will actually start happening, right? When they lay off their employees, because earlier they had 100 employees, suppose, now they are reducing it to 75 employees. So reduction of 25 employees mean there is reduction in the purchasing power of 25 households. When the purchasing power of households reduce, what will happen? Demand in other sectors will also start coming down. Clear? When demand in other sectors start coming down, it will further have impact on other sectors, and those sectors will also start going for laying off their employees. Once they also start laying off the employees, the overall economy will have significantly lower demand, right? Now, because of further decline in demand, the 1000 units demand will further reduce because it is a particular spiral or a cycle. right? So overall in the economy, there is reduction in demand that will again get reflected in the demand for this particular industry or sector. So from 1000 units now it reaches to that of 750 units. Now in order to reduce their cost of operations, what will they again go for? They will further lay off employees. From 75, they will now only have 50 employees. That means they have further reduced the purchasing power of 25 households, and that is going to impact other sectors of the economy, and they will also go for further laying off employees. Now that situation will further create reduction, and from 750 now the demand will come down to 500 units. When demand come down to 500 units, what happened? Further laying off employees, right? Now this cycle will go on and on till it reaches a situation of depression. Depression means it is a situation of very low demand. And due to very low demand, unemployment will be very high. And there will also be lower productive or production activity. Clear? So three important features: lower production activity, second is very low demand, and third is high unemployment rate. These are the features of depression. Clear? So in 1929, the experts started thinking, is there any problem in the way we have understood the economy? And it was later on that John Maynard Keynes or J.M. Keynes came up with a solution. According to Keynes, the problem is fundamentally with the invisible hand. Now, what is the problem with invisible hand? According to J.M. Keynes, the problem with invisible hand is because of the fact that when the economy go to that downward spiral, there will not be any entity or agency to stop this downward spiraling. As government is not intervening in the economy, as no other agency is intervening, they are not able to put a stop or kind of a control in this downward spiral. So according to Keynes, what he devised was, we have to have an agency who is able to have control over the process, or who can intervene in this process. And that agency is none other than the government. So according to Keynes, what government should do is, government should intervene in cases of slowdown in the economy. And what they should do? They should start bringing back the economy and the demand in the economy to the previous level. How do they do that? Now, we have discussed about a situation when 1000 units reached 750 units, right? And which further led to 500 units. Clear? So these were the situations that we were discussing. Now suppose if there was an intervening agency in between. Now what they can do is, now when the economy's demand is going down, government can step in and they can start spending in the economy in the form of, it can be based on subsidies, or they can start various projects, right? For example, when economy is going down, if government expands the scope of MGNREGA, what happened? If they increase the number of days of work that is provided under MGNREGA, if they have increased the wages that should be provided under MGNREGA, what happened? People again will start getting money, not from the job that they had, but from the government's side due to their social sector activities. Now, or government can go for an infrastructural project, Government start building an infrastructure, so that building of infrastructure will lead to what? Will lead to spending from the side of government. Government will start spending more on the infrastructure. They will start spending on the materials that is required. They will have to employ large number of people as the laborers. They will have to have supervisors, right? So they will start picking up people from the economy and they will start providing job for these people. Thereby, even though there are problems in a particular sector of the economy, all the other sectors of the economy will not get drastically affected due to the issue, because other sectors will be able to survive because of the income that the government is pumping in the hands of the people. Clear? So people get more money. People started getting money with them. They have income with them. They will start spending that income, and thereby with that particular downward spiral, with the intervention of government will be able to bring that back, bring the demand back in the economy. So this is what happened when it comes to that of government intervention. Now this is where the Keynesian theory came in, whereby according to Keynes, economy should not be left on its own, because if it is left on its own, there will not be anyone to pick up the economy when it's going to that particular downward spiral. Now, who can take care of the economy in this kind of situations? Who can take care of the economy from going to that particular depression level? That is the government, because they have the resources and they have the authority to intervene and to pump money in the hands of the people. Now take the case of COVID-19 situation. Why is government bringing a lot of new packages? Right? Why is government spending a lot of money in this particular situation? Because government want to bring that demand. They want people to have money with them. They don't want businesses to shut down. If businesses go for shutdown, what happened? Jobs will be lost. When the jobs are lost, as I have mentioned, it will start affecting the sectors by sectors, right? When sectors by sectors started affecting because of lower demand, lower purchasing power, lower income of the people, it ultimately leads to a situation whereby the entire economy will go down to a depression state. And in that particular state, the entire economy will be broke. So government is intervening now. That is the stimulus. Why it is known as stimulus? Demand is going down, government is intervening and providing a stimulus it to grow back. This is why we refer it to as a stimulus package. We are stimulating the economy to bring back to that particular demand level, to get back to that particular demand level. Clear? So, in that aspect, now I am going to discuss about the mixed economy. Now, mixed economy came in as a result of the new paradigm shift that happened in the economic thinking around the world, and this paradigm shift has actually created the mixed economy system, whereby the three questions of what to produce, how to produce and for whom to produce will be based on a balance. Now, when it comes to what to produce, they will be producing products that are required for the richer sections of society. Those luxurious products will also be produced, but at the same time, they will also produce the basic commodities that are required to sustain life. Right? They will be providing those products that is required to meet the demand of the lower section of the people, the vulnerable sections of the people. Right? So that will be taken care of. Now the second is how to produce. They will be providing, or they will be using both the techniques. They will be using both the labor intensive technique that provide employment opportunities to large number of people. They will also be providing, or they will also be following those technology intensive process that provide better effective production activity to the companies, whereby they will be able to reduce their cost as well. So in general, what you can say is, when it comes to mixed economy, it is an economy where both the private sector, the profit motivated private sector, as well as the service oriented government participates in the economic activity. The major concern of government is to provide or is the welfare of the people. They will also participate in the economic activity. They will also take decisions regarding what to produce, how to produce and for whom to produce. Now that way we can see that the Indian economy is a mixed economy. Why? Because we can see that the private sector is actually there. They are also participating in the economic activities. They sell on the basis of the demand and supply. But at the same time, government is also providing various goods and services to the people, especially the public distribution system. Right? Government also places certain restrictions on those products that is required for the larger number of the population. Clear? So existence of both service oriented, that is taken care of by the government, as well as the profit motivated, that is by the private sector. Their coexistence is the mixed economy. I hope the types of economy and how this particular different types evolved is clear to you. Clear? So next we will discuss about the sectors of the economy. What are the different sectors of the economy? Now, when it comes to different sectors of the economy, you have to understand there are primarily three important sectors, and these two are the new types of sectors that we have identified in the recent past. So, primarily three sectors, but altogether if you consider the present classification, we have 5 different sectors. Now, first one is the primary sector. It is very easy, as you already know, because these are some of the things that you might have studied in your lower classes. Primary sector are those sector that is indulged in production of the primary goods or the goods that are taken naturally or directly from the nature. Goods that are taken directly from the nature. Okay, so they are naturally produced. For example, agriculture. Right, they are natural, right? We are sowing the seeds, that particular seeds is germinating, it is developing into a plant and it is giving us the various agricultural products that we require. Or you can consider mining, because mining is also an example of the primary sector, because in mining what happened? We are taking it directly from the nature, we are not adding anything artificially, right? It is naturally from the land that we have this coal mines, right? Coal is actually naturally present. What we do is we actually dig them and we are trying to extract the minerals that is presented. So mining is also an example of the primary sector. So primary sector is basically all those sector where the products are taken directly from nature. There is no industrial process or manufacturing process involved in that activity. Clear? Now, secondary sector means those sector where there is a man-made intervention or a human intervention. We actually process it. We actually have included certain manufacturing process or industrial process in it. I'll give you an example that we have already discussed, whereby we discussed about the wheat, right? The farmer producing wheat means that wheat is actually a primary product. Now the wheat is used by the industry to produce biscuit. Now the biscuit that they have produced is a secondary sector product, because they have taken the wheat, they have taken various other components or inputs and they have put it together and they have used an industrial process to convert it to biscuit. So there is intervention. It is not directly, that biscuit is not directly, we are not taking it directly from the nature, not in that same form, right? We are changing the form of it. So that is part of secondary sector. So all the manufacturing activity becomes part of the secondary sector. Now third is the tertiary sector. That means they are providing services. So they are providing services means that is, for example, teaching. Okay, services are those things which we cannot see or which we cannot touch. We can only feel it, right? For example, teaching. You cannot see that particular teaching that is happening, right? You can see the person who is delivering, but you cannot see the product, right? So services are those things which we can only feel. We cannot actually touch it or we cannot actually see it. Okay, so these are the services. So various services, for example, the IT services, for example, the teaching services, the medical services, right? The services carried out by, uh, different service providers, such as that of communication, telecommunication, the internet providers, they are providing us with a service. Clear? And even logistic or transportation is also a service. That means they are providing a particular service that we cannot see or touch, right? So that is with the services sector. Now, the latest addition, that is quaternary sector and quinary sector. What is the difference between quaternary sector and quinary sector? Quaternary sector means it is those sector which involves high level of intellectual activity. For example, research and development, R&D. You might have heard about research and development, right? Various companies carry out research and development. They try to see, when it comes to that of COVID-19, various pharmaceutical companies are trying to develop a vaccine for it. Now they are carrying out research and development for it. So those kind of services or those kind of activities that they take place, they carry out are or can be classified as quaternary service. So high level of intellectual capacity, when it is used, it is part of quaternary service. Or you can mention about the atomic energy. All those high level intellectual, the scientific areas can be put under quaternary sector. Clear? And finally we have the quinary sector. What is quinary sector? Quinary sector means this is a sector where the intention is not, this is again a service related or service provider, but here the provision of services is not for profit. Instead, the provision of services is for the welfare intention. For example, the services carried out by NGOs is an example of what? It is example of quinary sector. Why? Because NGOs are carrying out activities not to create profit but to provide welfare or for the welfare purposes. Now take the case of the services carried out by district collector. The services by district collector is not based on earning profit. They don't want to earn profit. Instead, they want to serve the people, right? Take the case of government doctors. Take the case of the entire government sector can be considered as part of quinary sector because all the provision of services is for serving the people. Now you might have a doubt whether the collector is getting the salary or not. See, salary is not profit, right? So the activity that they carry out is not for earning profit. For the activities that they carry out, they are getting salary. That is there, but their motive is not to earn profit. So all those sectors whose activities is not based on profit motive, we can actually mention it as part of quinary sector. Example is government. Then you can mention about the NGOs and other civil society organizations. Clear? So that is with the different kinds of sectors of the economy. Clear? So we will wind up today's class and tomorrow we will continue with the national income calculation. Okay. So with national income calculation, we will begin the first chapter that we have initially discussed. So today's session was an introductory session whereby I want you to become familiar with what economy is, how economy works, what are the different types of economy, etc. So tomorrow we will be starting with the national income calculation. Thank you.